Beryl Hudson, who is a disability advocate. And Ms. Hudson, thank you so much for being here today and for taking our questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda, for inviting me. I really appreciate it also.
Well, we are just glad to have you and thank you for your patience with everything. Now, as we go along, we do have some moderators who will be checking the Facebook Live feed. If you have questions that you weren't able to submit, go ahead and ask a question in the live feed and they'll get the message to me. And we'll see if we can get it answered, okay? And we do want to try to be mindful of our time, but we'll try to get through as much as we can. So with that, we'll start with our first question here. It's a little bit long, but that this is COVID is complex, disability is complex, so let's just dive in. So our first question: I am a real estate project manager that went to working from home full time in March 2020 at the beginning of pandemic. I tested positive for COVID in January 2021, and I've not been the same since. My job has been very accommodating so far with my long COVID, which has allowed me to work more flexible or shortened hours and rest as I needed. I've been able to perform my job functions, although I am completely spent, both physically and mentally, by the end of the workday, like I've given my job everything I've had. However, now I'm beginning to feel the pressure from my bosses to start business travel again for work and appearing in the office on a hybrid work from home / in-person schedule like my coworkers do. My job description requires 50% travel. However, I don't feel up to it, and I'm worried that this will be a further detriment to my health than even just working from home. I have received my second COVID vaccine, but I haven't seen any neurological improvements from it like others have. I have not been able to get seen by a neurologist, but I am exhibiting all of the symptoms of ME/CFS, myalgic encephalomyelitis, or chronic fatigue syndrome. I know that they won't diagnose this until the 6-month mark, correct? And that there's a lot of the 6-month mark, not so much. It could be it's an ongoing thing, but what options do I have for disability without a diagnosis besides long COVID? Is 3 to 4 months too early to file for disability?
I will start off. That's a very broad, a little convoluted question,
It
but
is.
I will start out by giving a definition of disability based on what Social Security says. Social Security says a person is disabled if they are anticipating being too ill to work for at least 12 months or longer, or if that person will pass away. Okay. So, and then the second part of that, I will say, if he's still working, I would want to know, are you working full time currently? Are you working part time? Because that's a contradiction there. If you're still working and you're working full time, you would not be able to file a disability claim. However, Social Security does recognize that some people need to work while they are going through the disability process. And they do allow a certain amount of hours per week, and you can make a certain amount of money. So to answer that question for that particular person, I would need to know a little bit more information as far as, as I said, if they're working full time or not. But that's
Okay.
kind of the basic outline of it there.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great information. Thank you. I wasn't learning something new every day. And as far as the diagnosis of long COVID, we do actually have a diagnostic code for it now. It's called PASC, PASC. That stands for Post-Acute Sequela of COVID. And we
Right,
do have an ICD-10 code for it. You have to use that code in conjunction with your symptom codes,
right.
but we do actually have that we have a diagnosis that's big.
Exactly. That is fantastic. I know I
Yeah.
read about that. And the good thing about that is not only do you have the diagnosis for the long hauler syndrome, but Social Security will recognize that along with
Oh,
the underlying conditions that are caused because of that long hauler syndrome. Because you have a variety of symptoms, of underlying conditions, the nerve damage, the vision issues, heart issues, lung issues. All of those are issues that Social Security does will acknowledge as medical impairments. So if you combine those together, you have a better chance of actually winning a disability claim.
Okay, great. That's it is just bliss to hear someone knowledgeable about long COVID. So thank you for that.
You're
We're usually
welcome.
the ones explaining it, and to hear
Right.
someone else, oh my goodness. So let's move on to our second question.
Yes.
I am starting the process of applying for disability as a long hauler, and I'm wondering which condition I should be applying based on. I'm not sure if long-term COVID is even on Social Security's list, just answered, of eligible diseases. I also have fibromyalgia and ME/CFS. My doctors believe they were likely brought on by my long-term COVID, as well as endometriosis. I've done some research, and from what I could find online, it seems like my best bet is applying based on ME/CFS, but I'd love it if I could get some advice or clarification on this matter. I want to apply based on whichever of my ailments is most likely to be approved for benefits. Also, I'd like to ask whether or not it is worthwhile to hire a disability lawyer or advocate.
Okay. The first part of that question, as far as which disabilities would Social Security look at more seriously, and I say we list all of them in order of priority, um, because we want to get medical records from every physical ailment that's affecting that particular person. So we don't want to just zoom in on one. I mean, if you have heart issues and that's the thing that's affecting you the most, of course, that's going to be at the top of the list. But you may have other underlying conditions that cause you not to be able to work also. So you want to list, if it's one, you want to list one condition. If it's five, you want to list all five. If it's 25, we want to list all 25 of those conditions, because taking one out and not including all may
Yeah.
be the difference between Social Security saying, yes, you are disabled because of this, or no, you are not disabled because you didn't include enough health problems in your initial disability claim. So you want to include it all,
Okay, just give the whole picture.
the
That
whole
makes
gamut.
sense.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, great. Thank you. And then in terms of in terms of getting a disability attorney or advocate, is it worthwhile to do that? Can you do it on your own? As I ask a disability advocate.
Right. Well, as you said, I am a disability advocate. So of course, I am going to say your best bet is to either get a disability advocate or a disability attorney. I would say your chances of winning in a disability claim increase about 65%,
Oh, wow. Okay.
just based on you having a representative. And in addition to that, if we look at the long hauler syndrome, which is so new, it's new for you guys, it's new for the disability advocates and attorneys, it's new for Social Security. So you really want someone in there that knows what they're doing, because
Yes.
it's so new. So I would say definitely, I'm not, saying you need to get me, but I'm just saying it would be, yeah, but I would definitely say it is in your best interest to get someone, because disability advocates and disability attorneys, we know how to traverse through. It can be confusing. Even filing your application can be confusing. Even knowing which health problems to list, as we just heard from this question, can be confusing. Disability advocates and attorneys are experts in that arena, so we know. And I would say 100% get someone to represent you.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really great question. I'm glad that was brought up.
It was a
So
great question.
let's see. We're gonna take a question from the live feed here. This is a good one that relates to this. It dovetails nicely. What should expectations be from my attorney or advocate with regards of timing of communications with private insurance company SSDI? What are the normal percentages of fees I should be paying?
Are they asking the fee for a disability attorney through Social Security? If they hired an attorney or an
Yeah,
advocate,
it
what
sounds
would
like
that
it.
fee be?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're looking at, what kind of a time frame and how much should I expect to pay?
Okay, I'll answer the time frame question first.
Okay.
That depends on the individual. That depends on how soon Social Security makes a final decision on your claim. You can get a decision from Social Security as early as 6 months after you file your claim, or it could be as long as 2 years. It's according to where you are in the disability process. I mean, we have the initial stage when you first file your application. Social Security has 6 months to respond after you file that initial, well, 4 to 6 months
Okay.
to respond after you file that initial application. And they can say yes or no. You'll
Yeah.
get a letter in the mail and they'll say you're approved or you're denied. 85% of the time, that first initial application will be denied. That's just the nature of the game. I have reasons to, I know why they do that. I mean, that is kind of a way to kind of discourage those who are really not disabled, I think.
Yeah.
They're not going to keep trying and trying and trying if they're truly not disabled. But if you have those that are truly disabled, they're going to keep going through the process and appealing. So you have the initial stage first, you get denied there, then you have the reconsideration stage. And that's where we say, Social Security, can you look at this case again? I think you missed something. I think you should not have denied this client based on what I know of their medical condition. Again, they have another 4 to 6 months to respond to that reconsideration. They again can say yes or no. If they say no, the next step would be to apply for appeal for a hearing. And it can take a year to get a hearing with the Social Security disability judge. So you're like, again, like I said, and then there are steps after that where you can appeal to the appeals council and you can go on to the federal court. But you're looking at a 6 month to a 2 year period on average. As far as the fee, that is set by Social Security, and it is 25% or $6,000, whichever is less. That comes out of the client's back pay. And the good thing about that, if we don't win your case, we don't get paid.
Okay.
So that's an incentive for us, to do the very best,
Right.
to offer good customer service and do the very best we can to win for those clients. And me, myself, I will say this, I don't take clients unless I know that I feel that they have a really good case. I'm more about quality as opposed to quantity when it comes to deciding on which clients to take. But $6,000 or 25%, whichever is less,
Okay.
and only if we win.
That's fantastic to know. Thank you. I think that will be very helpful for a lot of people who were just thinking they're going to have to do something up front when they have nothing.
And exactly. And so many people, they can't, if they had to pay up front, they couldn't afford to do that. So
Which is the
that's
point.
good to know.
Yeah. Well, this is a really good one. I had COVID in July 2020 and I was on life support. My employer said they needed to file for disability due to age, needed to file for retirement. They are 63, but would have worked longer. Is there hope? I guess this person is 63, so they're close to retirement. And their employer is saying that they need to file for disability due to their age. So should they file for disability at this point? Is there?
Is that person currently working?
Let's see. Let me ask. Mandy, can you ask if they're currently working?
Because if they're working full time, they cannot file for disability.
Okay. What is the limit on working? Is it 20 hours or?
It's 25 hours a week.
25, okay.
And you can only make $2,190 a month. And
Okay.
that's a gross salary, not a net.
Okay.
So both of those have to work together.
Gotcha.
Maximum monthly $2,190, no more than 25 hours a week.
Okay, and that's across the U.S. It's not region
That's
by
across the United States, yes.
Okay, great. Here's another question. I was laid off due to COVID while on leave for long COVID. I also have a small business that has never been the primary source of income. My short-term disability / long-term disability is not wanting to pay my claim because of my small business. I would love guidance. I may work 5 to 10 hours at my business a week and am considering taking a 30-day break.
Okay. If they're going to only take a 30-day break and go back to that full-time job, again, it wouldn't benefit them to apply for disability. Remember, you're expected to be out 12 months or longer to be able to file a claim with Social Security. So if you're only looking to be off work 30 days, then it wouldn't be beneficial to file a claim because they would deny that claim because they would see that you've gone back to work.
Yeah. And it sounds like they were laid off due to COVID, so the work that they're doing is just 5 to 10 hours a week.
Okay, just from the part, just
Yeah.
from the business that they have
Yeah, the
themselves.
small business.
Okay,
And that's why they're being denied by short-term disability and long-term disability right now.
okay. So that changes things.
Yeah.
So that means that they're working under 25 hours a week. We would need, which would qualify them,
Okay.
but also we would need to make sure how much they're making per month. So
Yeah.
if they're under that 2190 and working less than 25 hours a week, they definitely would qualify for disability.
Great.
Yes.
Let's see. I'm doing a follow-up here on this other
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, we'll just read this one here. I got COVID in July 2020 and have had long COVID ever since. I was a fitness trainer and personal trainer prior to getting the virus. I have been in and out of the hospital. I've been seen by many ologists. I won't list them all here, and ER doctors. None of them have acknowledged long COVID. I'm unable to stand for long periods of time, exercise, and I have horrible brain fog. I filed for disability for long COVID back in October, but long COVID wasn't recognized then. I have just sent them a letter asking, asking for my case to be reopened and reconsidered. Do you have any suggestions as to what else I can do to help my case?
I think the main thing that that person would need to do is realizing that the long COVID is not going to be your health problem when you apply for disability benefits initially through Social Security. It's going to be those underlying conditions. They got denied the first time, as I said earlier, that's standard, pretty standard. 85% of people are going to be denied. I would say that they are on the right track. They appeal, it sounds like they appealed that denial. So they're at the reconsideration stage, so they're right on target. They're doing what they should be doing. My only suggestion, again, would be, I think it would be beneficial to have an advocate or a disability attorney working with them, because it is a long hauler disability claim. So it's a little different. It's new, and I think a disability attorney or a disability advocate could help them a lot more, because they know the inner workings of Social Security. But as far as what they've done so far, it sounds like they're doing the exact right thing.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. And a little bit of feedback on our previous question about the person close to retirement. They are 63 years old and currently not working.
Okay.
So,
But they are suffering from long hauler
yeah.
syndrome. Perfect candidate. They're a
Okay.
perfect candidate. They're close. Social Security had. I'll explain. Try to say it as quick as possible, so I won't waste too much time. But Social Security looks at age also when they consider
Oh, okay.
disabilities. The older you are, the better your chances are of being approved for disability. Putting that in conjunction with your health problems. 49 up through retirement are considered an older individual. It even goes into advanced age. So they look at that also very highly when they make a decision on a disability claim. So if he or she is looking at being the age of 63, close to retirement, and have health conditions that cause them not to be able to work, they are a perfect candidate to file a disability claim with Social Security.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's see. We'll go back to another question here. I have been suffering from multiple long hauler symptoms from acute asthma, fatigue, brain fog, to the most debilitating heart issues. Last week, an electrophysiologist diagnosed me with dysautonomia or severe POTS, and a pacemaker and my pacemaker cells are not working due to COVID. I faint or almost faint at least 3 to 4 times per day. My heart shoots up just from walking into another room. I have a cardiologist and an electrophysiologist. The electrophysiologist believes it will take 1 to 2 years to return back to pre-COVID work and physical lifestyle. Is there a possibility of qualifying for disability? And I think we kind of touched on this earlier, but
We definitely did. I'm not sure how old this person is, but based on the medical conditions that they're talking about, they are a great candidate for filing a disability claim.
yeah.
and I would suggest that they do so. Because of the limitations that they're talking about, physical limitations, not being able to be physical and walk and stand, things like that. Those are
Yeah.
things that you need to be able to do in any job. And if
Yeah.
you can't do those things, no one's going to hire you, or you're not going to be able to go back to your old job. So I would say that they are a prime candidate to
Yeah.
file for a
Especially if they
disability claim.
have pacemaker leads that aren't working.
Yes, exactly, exactly. My heart breaks for them, for
Yeah.
her, him or her.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's
Um,
tough.
and this is a great question. How about private insurance and not SSDI?
Private insurance, I mean, that's a very specific
It
question.
is.
Each business has their own third-party private insurance company, so I would not be able to answer that.
Yeah. It's so widely
Yeah,
different.
it's different from
Yeah.
business to business. It's just that different. Um, but I would say that most companies that offer short and long, most businesses that offer the option of short and long-term disability, if they believe that you're going to be out for an extended period of time, that 12-month period again, they're going to encourage the employee to file for their Social Security disability.
Okay.
So, I mean, because they're not going to continue to pay those benefits indefinitely.
Yeah.
So they're going to ask at some point for that person, you need to go ahead and file your disability claim with Social Security.
Okay. Here's another one. I collect SSI retirement, but needed my job to make ends meet. Retirement doesn't pay the bills. Now I have long haul and I can't work. Can I file for any more benefits besides unemployment? So it sounds like sort of a,
Sounds like they're getting their Social Security retirement already. That's
yeah,
what it
yeah.
sounds like. And if they are, then they would not be able to file for Social Security disability. Because
Okay.
even people who are getting Social Security disability, say they're 62 years old and they're
Mhm.
receiving disability. Once they reach retirement age, 66 and a half, that disability is going to switch over to Social Security retirement anyway. So they're
Okay.
kind of one kind of offsets the other one once they become 66 and a half.
Okay.
The only other option I would see for someone like that would be to look for, assistance with social services in their area.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other Social Security benefits that they could get.
Yeah, and that can be really difficult because we have a very disjointed system. Um,
And that's
yeah.
true. And the thing about it is, I believe you said that they were getting, did you mention how they were? I can't remember. I don't think you
It,
did.
yeah, they did not say how old they are.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. Well, then I won't. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of look at the picture and guess, but that's not going to help.
No.
I, you look 29. You're great. Okay, so we've got a good one here. I have long COVID. I've had long COVID since September and I'm still on oxygen with chronic hypoxia along with tachycardia. I applied 2 months after COVID and was denied. Do I have a better chance now? I have not worked since having COVID. And I think we've kind of covered a lot of this. So,
We kind of covered
mhm.
that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they were denied the first time, again, it's a great time to appeal that decision.
Yeah.
Once you're denied by Social Security, whether it's at the initial stage, at the reconsideration stage, or at the hearing stage, Social Security gives you 60 days to appeal that decision. So if I were that person, I would have, when I got that first denial, I would have appealed that decision to ask Social Security to reconsider that again. Because what happens if you don't appeal it, after that 60-day period is over, the case is closed out completely.
You have to
So
start over.
you
Yeah.
have to start the process all over again. Yeah. Yes.
That
And
sounds
that's
like
one of the
fun.
things that I tell people, because you just don't know. And
Yeah.
again, that's why it's good to have someone advocating for you, because we know, you have 60 days to get that appeal in. If you don't, the claim is going to be closed. A lot of times clients just don't know because it's not their area of expertise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have a very complex system of everything related to healthcare
Oh,
in the
yes.
US. So
Yes, it
yeah,
is.
I
I
can definitely
agree.
see that. This is an excellent question. All of these specialists are wanting us to have all of these tests done, and the test always come back normal when there's obviously something very wrong. How will this hinder us?
It will, well, it can be a hindrance. I'm not saying that it's going to be a definite no for disability, but the one thing that you have to understand is with Social Security, your witness is your medical records. It's like in a criminal case, you have somebody get up on the stand and testify for you or against you. In Social Security, when we have a hearing before an administrative law judge, not only does he want to question that client about how they are, their perception of how they're feeling, but they want to look at the treating physician, and the medical records are extremely important. So I say that to say this, even if the test came back negative, what is the doctor saying in those medical records? I mean,
Okay.
what are you manifesting as far as your symptoms are concerned? Because that could possibly be enough to win the case.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think that actually brings up a very good point. Many of us go into our physicians and they just write it off as anxiety,
Mhm.
or and they don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
And I've actually had this problem myself where I had an echocardiogram and it wasn't it the results said normal, but when I went back and read it myself in the body of the reading, it actually had tricuspid and mitral regurgitation.
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
see things like this all the time where it's normal by regular terms. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I've got an 8-year-old with Legos. They're down there, buddy. Sorry.
That's okay.
I might have to fix a Lego thing here. Sorry about that. Multitasking. But yeah, that and then we do see this because it's normal in the medical community, but we're not putting all these pieces together. So I think it really behooves all of us as patients to be familiar with our charts, to have access to our charts.
Exactly.
So we can
Exactly.
pull this out and say, no, it's not normal.
Mhm.
This came back and said this. So
Exactly. And I think that's again another reason to have someone advocating for you that's going to go in there and read those medical records and be able to pull out those things that are
yeah.
important, that kind of testify to the fact that this person really is ill. And we
Yeah.
also have to think about even if they did say that this is not a medical condition, it's anxiety. Anxiety is a disability. I mean, it could be considered
Yeah.
a limitation too,
It
just
could.
like nerve damage or heart issues.
Yeah.
Mental issues are can be just as debilitating as
Yes.
medical, as physical issues can be.
Yeah. Yeah. So then yeah, I'm glad you said that because yeah, even if they do chalk it up to that, use it.
Yeah, yeah, use what
Use it.
we need to use what we have. That's right.
Exactly.
Yes. Mhm. And remember also that not only are Social Security looking at what the doctors say, they're looking at what the doctor says in conjunction with what the claimant is saying.
Yeah.
That's some
Exactly.
weight there. That's some weight. You know how you feel. And you have to think
Yes.
about it this way. You have a person that's worked their whole life. They've
Yeah.
contributed to society, they've helped their family, they've been the go-to person and for their family and friends, and all of a sudden you can't work anymore. Who wants to be in that position if they didn't have to be?
Not
Nobody.
me.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So that's a testament to the fact that there really is something wrong with this person. Why would they work for 10, 20, 30 years and all of a sudden stop? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So again, that's testimony that can be used to prove your disability claim. The fact that I'm not working anymore. I used to work and I can't work anymore.
Yeah, that's and we do have a listener asking if this is Canadian or American. This is American.
Mhm.
Sorry. I don't know Canadian. I don't know if you know Canadian law. I don't.
I don't. I
Sorry.
do not.
But that's something we can certainly look at. I can gladly find someone in Canada to help, so we'll consider that. Here is one. How do short-term and long-term disability insurance through employment benefits work with federal disability benefits?
When they talk about federal, they're talking about Social Security.
Yeah, Social
Well,
Security. Uh-huh.
yeah, what happens is some businesses do offer short and long-term disability when they realize that an employee is not able to work. Um, at some point, again, it varies from business to business to business, but at some point, If you continue to be off work on long-term, usually long-term disability, and it's expected to go into that 12-month period, that's when you're going to be encouraged to file a disability claim with Social Security because it's expected to be 12 months or longer.
Okay. So it's that 12-month mark that
It's
we
that
need to keep
12-month
in mind.
mark,
Okay.
yes. That's in the back of in the heads of the insurance companies, yes.
Everyone write it down. 12 months.
12 months, right?
Um, oh goodness, yeah. I really feel for a lot of our long haulers who had COVID before it was recognized. I personally had COVID before 3 weeks before we had testing in Kansas City, the first time I had it.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we've got a question here from someone who had COVID in December of 2019.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and it is really hard to prove. You can tell by the symptoms, and if you're a long hauler, you know.
Yes, I
Um,
believe that, yes.
yeah. They called it an unknown respiratory illness. It caused congestive heart failure and, oh goodness, and kidney failure stage 4.
Oh
It was
my
never
goodness.
actually tested for COVID. Yep. But had all the symptoms. So could I still use the COVID code?
You could use the COVID code and along with all of the underlying conditions that happened as a result of that COVID. Again, I'm like you, Amanda, I'm sure
Yeah.
they had it
Yeah.
because of the
Right.
symptoms. But certainly we could use the COVID code along with whatever your underlying conditions are. I think she said congestive heart failure and some
Yeah.
other things.
Which is,
Yes,
we see that a
definitely.
lot.
We see that a lot.
In young, healthy people, congestive
Mhm.
heart failure.
Yes,
This
yes,
is,
it's insane. It
it
really
is.
is. It really. But I mean, at some point, they're going to have to look at the consistency of these symptoms that the long haulers have, and it's going to have to click with doctors, and Social Security alike, because you hear, since I would say since probably around January, right after New Year's, I started getting a lot of long hauler potential clients calling me,
Huh?
and I heard the same symptoms over
Yep.
and over and over again. So I would
Well,
definitely say I just lost my train of thought.
oh, that's okay. Well, I think that may have something to do with the fact that starting January 1st of this year, there is a long hauler code, an ICD-10 code,
Mhm.
and that was when that started. So
Yeah,
that may have kickstarted that,
that
like,
may have
hey,
kickstarted it. Yes,
yeah,
right. We could, yeah, maybe there's a chance that we can get some, we can really get some help with this. Yeah.
yeah, which was
Mhm.
why I have a background in coding, billing, and transcription, so
Mhm.
that to me was big news.
I know that was amazing. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. It
to have
had
it
to
in just a
happen.
year.
It had to happen.
And
Yeah.
in just a year, my heart goes out to the people in the ME, CFS communities and other long-term, like fibromyalgia, how they fought for decades.
Yes,
And we
yes.
got an ICD-10 code in a year. So
Yeah.
and we're very cognizant of that. Um, here's one. Can SSDI be claimed retroactively? For example, if a person didn't know the recovery would take so long, which is like a lot of us, yeah, and now have been out for more than a year, is there ever a retroactive payment?
It definitely is. When you file your disability claim, one of the questions on that claim is what date you became disabled. What was the date you were no longer able to work? It could be 2 weeks ago. It could be 6 months ago. It could be 2 years ago. And if through medical records and through testimony, you are able to prove that you were disabled back to that point, Social Security will pay you. And that's what's called back benefits or past due benefits. So you certainly can, when you apply, put on there the date that you became disabled. And as I said,
Wow.
based on the information and medical records, you certainly can be paid back to that date.
Oh, that is I think you just made a lot of people very happy. Thank you.
You're
Because
welcome.
none of us knew. I thought I was alone for a couple of months, and I had no idea it would go on for months and months. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah. Someone wants to know what is the difference between a disability advocate and a disability attorney?
They're similar in some ways. My definition of a disability advocate is someone who works with the claimant on a customer service, more personal level. I actually worked for a very prominent disability attorney here in Metro Atlanta, and learn the ropes from him. He was a fantastic attorney.
Mm.
But one thing about disability attorneys, they come into the claim at the point, at the initial stage, is handled, everything is handled by a case manager. They talk to the client, they request the medical records, they prepare the case. When it's time for the claim to go to the hearing, if it gets to that point, that's when the disability attorney comes in and takes over. And he goes and he represents the client at the hearing. The difference with a disability advocate is we're there from the beginning. We're there at the case management stage when the person calls in and they want information like what we're doing today. And we work all the way through up to the hearing stage and beyond. So we have a more personal, I don't know if personal, we have a different type of
holistic.
relationship.
Yeah.
I love that word, yes. More of a holistic relationship with our clients because we know our clients. I mean, I can tell you the names of probably 95% of my clients, and I have over 300. But a disability attorney, they don't get involved to that extent. And get, you know, and know the client's family history, know their medical history like a disability advocate does.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And just to answer a quick question that someone was asking for the code, the ICD-10 code for long COVID PASC is B as in boy 94.8. And if that's something that you need, you can't use that alone in medical coding. You have to accompany it with the codes of your symptoms as well. It's not a standalone code, but that code is B94.8. So, yay, the more you know.
Yes.
Okay.
The more you know. That's
Oh,
right.
this is a great question. This sort of dovetails with another one we just did. What kind of medical documentation do you recommend given the errors in testing or lack of initial testing for COVID? For example, my initial COVID-19 test was negative, but I ended up getting severely ill. I also tested positive for antibodies, and now I have ME/CFS.
I would say you want to look at all of it. I mean, just because, and the most important medical information that Social Security will use or a disability advocate or attorney will use is the most recent medical information. So just because they said initially that you did not have COVID, as you had more medical testing done, things changed and they found out that you did, along with, and then as things changed again, you saw you see the underlying conditions starting up, you know, the heart issues, the lung issues, the organ issues. So you use all of that as testimony to prove that you are disabled. So just because somebody says in the beginning that you don't have COVID it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
I'll say that it does not hurt. No.
Well, and it's really, it's not even the COVID, it's the damage it's doing that's
right. And that's, then you make a very good point. That's a very good point. And I think people need to really remember that I mean, the COVID is like the umbrella up here, but you got all of this down here. And these underlying conditions are that's what's going to prove your case.
Yeah.
It's not that COVID that sits up here, even though that's what caused it. But this is what I'm dealing with now on a regular basis. And I've been dealing with this for going on a year or more. So that's what's going to matter in the end.
Yeah, that was a good question. I'm glad someone brought that up because
great
we
question.
run into a lot of people. Well, how do you know you had COVID? Well, I'm pretty sure I did. You know. I started.
No one has to tell you. You know. Yes.
What should we expect during the SSDI medical review period? Do they send us to their doctor? Is there something else that goes on?
It's pretty standard, especially at the end, and it's according to what stage you are, and if you filed a disability claim. If you haven't filed one, at the initial stage, within that 4 to 6 month period, while you're waiting to hear back from Social Security, they are going to send you to their doctor.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to pay for it. It's something that Social Security will pay for. It's not something that the client has to pay for, but they just want to verify. And they will send you to a doctor based on what your conditions are, what you say your health problems are. So they'll send you to that type of doctor. If you have a vision issue, they're going to send you to an eye doctor. If you have a heart issue, they're going to send you to a cardiologist, that type thing. And
Okay.
it is very, very, very important for you to make that appointment.
Yes.
I've had clients that have not had transportation,
Oh,
or
yeah.
they figured it wasn't important and didn't go, and it caused either a delay in Social Security making a decision, or sometimes they denied the claim because they felt that that person was being non-compliant. So you
Yeah.
really want to make sure you go to that doctor when Social Security schedules it, and they give you at least 1 to 2 months heads up.
Oh, good.
And they
Okay.
send you a letter in the mail with the name of the doctor, the time, the time, address, and all of that.
So when you go to see that doctor, should you bring your medical records with you?
You don't have to bring your
Okay.
medical records with you. They're going to do an exam based on what Social Security is requesting.
Okay.
Once that exam is done, within about a 2-3 week period, they will forward that information to Social Security, so that whatever the doctor, the SSA doctor said, will be in your file at that point.
Okay. And if this doctor, say this doctor, like, because this comes up a lot, say this doctor decides I don't see anything, can you
Mhm.
contest that?
You can ask for another exam, or I mean, this is an independent doctor. This is
Yeah.
not your doctor.
Hmm.
More weight is put on your treating physician, the patient's
Okay.
treating physician, than the Social Security doctor.
Okay.
That's
That's good
just
to
like
know.
a backup, just to double check. But the weight is put on, say for instance, you have your own cardiologist. Okay. Social Security is going to put more, because that's the person that you deal with. That's your
Yeah.
doctor. So Social Security is going to put more weight on that than they would on the Social Security doctor.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes.
So this is a great one, personally directed at you. You're doing a great job, I guess. So thank you. I think you're doing a great job. Could Beryl help anyone in the U.S., or do I need to find someone in my area?
Beryl can help anyone in the US.
I
I
kind of thought
have
so.
covered claims I've gone to California, as far as New York, I've been down in Florida, so I am able to help any client. I mean, of course, I would do a consultation with you first
Yeah.
to verify certain information. As I said, if I feel I can't help, I will either refer you to someone else, or I'll let you know that I don't think you'll be able to win your claim. I'm going to
Yeah.
be honest with you. And after that's done, then as I said, anywhere in the United States, I could help you.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you. And I'll make sure everyone that we have her information available on our, it'll be, I'll make sure it's in the post of this so that you can contact her later on. Um, and so you can find her if you want to. Now, which leads to the next question. How do I find someone in my area? How do I find an advocate?
I would say internet, internet, and then check the reviews.
Dear
But
Google.
again, yeah, Google it. That's what I would say. Google it and check the reviews. But I will, and I'm not just saying this because I'm an advocate, but definitely, if you're looking for someone to represent you, I would steer you to an advocate. And another way that you can find someone is to contact Social Security. I mean, they
Okay.
have a list of attorneys and advocates that can assist clients who are looking for representation. So you can contact Social Security also.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I think as we're delving into this in the support groups, we're finding wonderful people like you. So look in your support groups as well and see who
Oh,
other
that's a
people
good
are working
idea.
with. Yeah, and I know at least in Karen Bishop's group, the COVID-19 Long Hauler Advocacy Project, I think she might even have a list of advocates, or I know there's an advocate that they've worked with before as well. So if you're in her group, you're probably seeing this. And then they had a town hall, I think a couple of weeks ago also. So check your support groups as well and see who's
That's a
working with
good
whom,
idea.
and we can start putting together a list of that and other resources as well, because we just want to help you. We
Yes,
just want to
yes.
help you.
Right.
Yeah, someone wants you to come to South Dakota if you can. Thank you. So you have
I'll
a
come.
fan. You have a fan. Um, let's see. Are there any? I don't think I think that's it for the questions. What parting advice would you give us?
My parting advice would be to fight.
Yeah.
That would be what I would say, fight. Don't think just because this is new to the medical profession, to you guys, to Social Security, that it's not worth fighting for. I mean, just as you said earlier, fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
lupus, there were so many other medical conditions that Social Security did not recognize at some point. And some that they still, I mean, I have fibromyalgia cases that I have to fight to win because there's no x-ray, no CT scan, no, EKG that you can do to say, okay, this person has fibromyalgia. So I'm not going to say it's not a difficult case to win, but I'm saying you've worked your whole life. You deserve to have some benefits.
Yeah.
You really do. And if I'm here, as I said, I service the entire United States. I have a great staff. We're very compassionate. We feel for you. We want to help you. And I say fight.
Yeah.
That's my parting words, fight. Because we'll be here fighting for your benefits too.
Yeah. I guess we'll take one. There's one that sneaked in here. We'll take this last question here because it's a good one. It's a good one. This person says, some medical providers I saw diagnosed me with post-viral syndrome, but another doctor who was not familiar with long haulers put in conflicting information in my chart. This doctor flat out said he didn't believe long haulers were real at all in the world. How will conflicting medical information in your chart affect you? Many doctors just are not familiar with long COVID and are not accurately documenting in patient charts. What should we do?
Again, I say fight.
Yeah.
Because we gather all the evidence that we have, the evidence that supports the long haulers and the evidence that does not support it. And we go before a case like that is going to go to the hearing. It's going to go to hearing because of the complexity of it, because you have those conflicting medical records. Again, that's why you need an advocate. That's why you need a disability attorney, because they can go in there and talk to the judge one-on-one, interview you as a client, and let the judge hear you tell your story.
Yeah.
And your story is evidence.
The whole picture.
The whole
picture.
So we want to, we exactly, you want to show the whole picture. And many times, not just with long haulers, but with other clients too, you have medical evidence that could be contradictory. But again, having the right person advocate for you can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, big time. And
Yes.
and I know it's so hard, long haulers. We've been fighting for a year, some of us more than a year.
Yes.
We just got to keep fighting.
You just have that's it.
Yeah, and lean on each other. This is what the support group is for. So if you need help, you reach out. We're here, okay? And Miss Hudson, thank you again for your time. This has been wonderful. It's been very informative. We're getting a lot of thank yous, and so I hope you are flooded with love mail. And I want to thank Mandy and Valerie behind the scenes for getting all of your questions to me. And we will, and hopefully, let's try to do this again sometime if you're up for it, because
that would be great.
yeah, I'm sure we'll have more questions that'll come up.
I can. Thank you, Amanda.
Well,
for
you
having
take
me.
care.
I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I hope I was of some help.
You were a tremendous help. Thank you. A lot of people
right.
are filling the chat with, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I know this.
Okay, good
So,
then. All right then.
well, take care. You have a great
You too.
weekend.
You have a great weekend and happy Mother's Day to
Oh,
all you
thank you.
the
Thank
mothers
you.
out there.
I'm gonna do some Legos with my dude.
Okay, all right then. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.